Victory in World War II came at an extraordinary price. For the United States, it marked the rise of a global superpower. But behind that triumph were hundreds of thousands of lives lost, millions wounded, and a generation forever changed. While history often celebrates battlefield success, the human cost tells a far deeper story. Between 1941 and 1945, over 16 million Americans served. By war's end, more than 400,000 were dead. Hundreds of thousands more carried physical and psychological scars that would last a lifetime. This was the true cost of victory. The United States suffered approximately 416,800 total military deaths, over 670,000 wounded, and tens of thousands missing or captured. Every number represented a son, brother, husband, or father. In the European theater, American forces entered the war in late 1942, fighting through North Africa, Italy, France, Belgium, and into Germany itself. On June 6, 1944, D-Day saw thousands of American troops storm Normandy's beaches. Approximately 2,500 American soldiers were killed in a single day, with thousands more wounded. The fighting continued for weeks, turning villages into deadly battlefields. In December 1944, the Battle of the Bulge became one of the deadliest engagements, with over 19,000 American soldiers killed. By Germany's surrender in May 1945, over 180,000 Americans had died in the European theater. The Pacific theater was a different, relentless war. Combat against Imperial Japan involved island-by-island assaults, where American troops faced entrenched defenders who rarely surrendered. The terrain made conditions even harsher. Guadalcanal marked the beginning of America's pushback. Casualties were heavy, and disease claimed nearly as many men as combat. On Iwo Jima, nearly 7,000 Americans were killed, and over 20,000 wounded. The famous flag-raising came at enormous cost. Okinawa was the bloodiest battle of the Pacific War. More than 12,000 American troops were killed and over 36,000 wounded. By the end of the Pacific War, over 100,000 American service members had died in that theater. Not all casualties came from enemy fire. Thousands died from disease, accidents, training incidents, and harsh environmental conditions. Over 130,000 Americans were captured. Those held by Japanese forces frequently endured brutal conditions, forced labor, starvation, and abuse. The Bataan Death March remains one of the most infamous examples of wartime brutality. Thousands never returned home. The visible wounds of war were only part of the cost. What we now call PTSD was then referred to as shell shock or combat fatigue. Many returning veterans struggled with nightmares, anxiety, depression, and emotional trauma. The war reshaped not only bodies, but minds. For every soldier killed, a family received a telegram. Gold star banners appeared in windows, symbols of sons lost overseas. Entire communities were changed. Small towns felt the loss deeply. Victory celebrations in 1945 were filled with relief, but also grief. By 1945, American leaders feared that invading Japan could cost hundreds of thousands, possibly over 1 million American casualties. The decision to use atomic bombs remains controversial, but one argument was the prevention of even greater American losses. When the war ended in September 1945, millions of American soldiers returned home. The GI Bill helped many veterans build new lives. Yet not all transitions were easy. Physical disabilities, lost limbs, and emotional trauma followed many into civilian life. Cemeteries like Arlington National Cemetery stand as permanent reminders of the sacrifice. While American losses were immense, globally, the scale was even more devastating. World War II remains the deadliest conflict in human history. The American cost, though smaller by comparison, was transformative for a nation previously shielded by oceans. The United States emerged from World War II stronger, shaping the post-war world order. But none of that came without sacrifice. More than 400,000 American lives were lost. Millions were wounded physically or psychologically. Families were changed forever. Victory brought freedom to millions across Europe and Asia. But for countless American families, it also brought silence at the dinner table, empty bedrooms, and folded flags. The cost of victory was written not only in strategy and treaties, but in blood.